The Legend of Zelda. Now that is a title that carries some weight. Sure, there are a lot of iconic characters, stories, and set pieces that have left their mark on gaming, but it's hard to find many that live up to the standard of this, well, legendary series. Whether you're looking to explore a vast landscape, navigate harrowing dungeons, or experience an epic narrative, Zelda has something for pretty much everyone. But believe it or not, there was a day before the Zelda series enjoyed the success it has now, before Ocarina, and before Breath of the Wild. A single NES title would take the world by storm and redefine the way we view adventure for years to come. Hi there, my name is Daniel, and I think The Legend of Zelda is pretty creative. Once upon a time, there was a boy who lived in Kyoto, Japan. He loved the outdoors and would take every available opportunity to explore the fields, forests, and caves around his home. Years flew by, and that boy went on to get a job at a relatively small Japanese playing card company called Nintendo. He worked his way through the ranks and eventually became an instrumental member of the team, just in time to jump on this new trend called video games. His name is Shigeru Miyamoto, and this is his brainchild. Actually, it was their brainchild. And they were also responsible for this, which was being developed at the same time. Tezuka handled the game's narrative, and Miyamoto was largely responsible for the game's mechanics, which took, just a little bit of inspiration from those adventures he went on as a kid. Their work on Super Mario Bros. Was revolutionary, for sure, but that game was linear and action-focused, a lot like the arcade titles at the time. Zelda, on the other hand, was designed to be an exploratory, thoughtful experience that challenged the intellect rather than just a player's reflexes and skills with the controller. There really wasn't a whole lot like it at the time, which is one of the things that made Zelda such a special project. It wasn't just a video game, it was an adventure. And when you embark on that adventure, you're dropped right in the middle of this field with no weapon, no direction, and no real explanation of how you even got there in the first place. The closest thing you have to a clue is this cave right here, and upon entering, you're given some sage advice. Thank you, sir. And your very own sword. And this thing is frickin' awesome. It can stab things, shoot sword beams, and I guess that's kinda it. Okay, so it couldn't do a whole lot at this point in this series, but it gets the job done, right? Right, so you've got the sword and you've left the cave. You're still left with 3 completely different paths forward and absolutely zero guidance on which is the best route. But to be fair, if you were playing on this guy back in the 80s, you would have actually had a pretty solid amount of context booting up the game, because you would have had one of these guys. That's right, remember when games had instruction manuals? Like before the internet? And these little guys were absolutely essential to a full understanding of the game, since, as you've probably already noticed, the capacity for in-game text and exposition was pretty small on the NES. For most games at the time, like Zelda's brother Super Mario Bros., the manual provided a brief look at the story setup, as well as a quick rundown of the controls and mechanics. And this rings true for Zelda as well. It's here that we learn about the Kingdom of Hyrule in this very difficult-to-read opening page. The evil Ganon has taken the legendary Triforce of Power and seeks to use it to plunge Hyrule into darkness. To do so, however, he also needs the Triforce of Wisdom, which Princess Zelda has split into 8 fragments and hidden throughout the kingdom. She's sent her handmaiden Impa to find a worthy hero to collect the Triforce fragments and defeat Ganon, who has also kidnapped her. And that's where you come in. Pretty simple setup, all things considered. But as a longtime Zelda fan, I'm so impressed at how many staple elements of the series were established right here at the start of it all. The Triforce of Courage wouldn't come in until the next adventure, leaving it with only 2 pieces for now. But Zelda, Link, Ganon, and even Impa are all here. And as you don the green tunic of the legendary hero, your quest to reclaim the Triforce of Wisdom and defeat Ganon is clear. But there's actually a considerable amount that's still unclear, though. The Legend of Zelda was a lot more complex than a lot of its contemporaries, after all, and new players were going to need a bit more guidance if they were going to have any clue what to do, which is why the much lengthier instruction manual for this game gives a pretty extensive background of items, enemies, and even the mechanics of dungeons. There's even a pretty detailed map of a large portion of Hyrule with some helpful hints and the locations of the first 4 dungeons. So, you're not totally alone on this new adventure, and between the manual and your own navigational skills, you've finally made it to the game's first dungeon, sword in hand and ready to face the trials within. But let's actually back up a little bit, because that's really just one of the many paths you could have chosen to take. I mean, all of this is available for you to explore without any items or prior knowledge of the game. And if you know what you're doing, you can progress through the game's 8 primary dungeons in pretty much whatever order you want. Of course, on your initial playthrough, you're not going to know what you're doing, and some of the necessary hints to access the later dungeons are actually found in earlier ones. But the responsibility of finding the best way forward is on you. There are so many possible nooks and crannies you can explore in this world at any given time. But this isn't a wide open field. It's a labyrinth. Your task at every turn, then, is both to figure out where to go and how to get there. Quite simply, navigation is the name of the game in The Legend of Zelda. The sheer amount of options you're given from the get-go, as well as the complete lack of help you're given in narrowing down those options, can feel pretty overwhelming, especially if you were playing in the pre-internet era. Suddenly, those hints in the instruction manual are looking pretty nice. But I'd also argue that the generally standoffish nature of Hyrule in this game is a big part of its lasting charm. The Zelda series as a whole has followed Nintendo's trend towards a more prescribed, hand-holding approach over the years. And while I certainly celebrate Nintendo's efforts to make their beloved series more approachable to all kinds of gamers, it's a bummer when this comes at the cost of the genuine thrill of discovery. In Skyward Sword, solving this puzzle in the ancient cistern doesn't feel rewarding, because this tablet literally told you what to do 5 seconds earlier. It's okay, Skyward Sword, I still love you. Compare that to any number of moments in Zelda 1 in which your own wits and growing knowledge of the world led you to a genuine discovery. I believe this joyful sense of uncovering secrets is what makes the original Zelda so great, and it's why I'm not surprised that this is what the developers wanted to recapture with Breath of the Wild. And it's a good thing this game offers such a rewarding feeling of discovery, because it certainly isn't firing on all cylinders when it comes to puzzles. You know, that other thing the Zelda series is known for? Yeah, those aren't really here. I mean, they kinda are, if you want to count pushing blocks, bombing walls, and defeating all the enemies in a room. Zelda dungeons have become iconic as some of the most creative, complex levels in gaming. But in this first title, they just simply weren't there yet. And that's okay. In his series on Zelda's dungeon design, Mark Brown does an excellent job distinguishing the micro-challenge of solving puzzles from the dungeon's overarching challenge of navigation. Some of the series' best dungeons ask players to hold both of these challenges in equal measure, accomplishing the tasks immediately ahead of them while making mental maps and backtracking decisions to, as Mark puts it, untie the temple's knot. Unsurprisingly though, this masterful two-pronged approach wasn't fully fleshed out on their first try. And what we get instead is almost an exclusive focus on the navigational challenge. Every room and every dungeon is a single-screen rectangle. Doors are always in the middle of the walls, and as previously stated, your objective at each room pretty much always falls in the categories of combat, bombs, and block pushing. Your biggest task, then, comes in navigating your way through these sprawling underground mazes. A tall order helped tremendously by finding the dungeon's map and compass. And it's at this point you'll probably notice the maps are where Zelda 1's dungeons get a large portion of their personality. They all look like things. Level 1 is an eagle, level 4 is a snake, and level 8 is a lion. They may not look very unique in their aesthetics, but these dungeons each leave an impression in the way they're put together. What also leaves an impression upon leaving a Zelda dungeon is the dungeon's item, a tradition long held in the Zelda series which actually started right here. In every one of the game's 9 levels, you'll find a helpful weapon or tool to add to your arsenal, officially creating the long-standing meme of how Link is a human Swiss Army knife. Some of these are more combat-focused, like the bow or boomerang, whereas others fill a more specific role and focus on opening up specific areas of the world, like the stepladder and raft. The items you'll find are not required for the most part, although there are some annoying exceptions that you won't want to miss. The majority, though, are just helpful, exciting little secrets to reward your exploration and resourcefulness. Your bombs and candle, on the other hand, which aren't actually dungeon items at all, are two of the most valuable tools you'll gain over the course of your adventure. As I mentioned, bombs are incredibly useful in dungeons, and together with the candle, they'll play a huge role in opening the many hidden caves and grottos around Hyrule. Most of these lead to hidden rupee stashes, shops, and gambling games, although there are a fair amount of optional power-ups and heart containers. Nice! Also, watch out for these dudes who are not happy about you burning down their front door and make you pay to fix it. Honestly, hilarious troll. So you've explored the whole kingdom, conquered the 9 dungeons, and put an end to the Demon King himself. What next? Well, for us, there's actually an entire second quest with remixed dungeons and item locations. You know, the original Master Quest. But for gaming as a whole, I really can't overstate how massive of a milestone The Legend of Zelda was back in 1986. It didn't just put Hyrule on the map and start a successful series. It brought video games from arcades and high scores to epic adventures in the comfort of your own home. It presented players with a seemingly insurmountable set of challenges to overcome, and in doing so, provided the potential for a truly unforgettable experience of victory. And if I'm being honest, this is why I love the Legend of Zelda series so much. It's not just the music, epic cutscenes, creative dungeons, or lovable characters. It's the journey itself, the feeling of discovery, and the reward of growing to overcome adversity. The series, at least in my opinion, has always been at its best when it creates these opportunities for learning and personal growth. And while the original may not have all the bells and whistles these later games would have, that heart and soul is powerfully present right here at the beginning. The Legend of Zelda is a game about exploration. It's an adventure where you can stumble into level 8 with only 3 hearts, but it's also a journey that rewards perceptive experimentation. Maybe with the next key, a new item, or even another heart container. Zelda doesn't hand out these rewards like candy though, and in some ways, I did find its standoffish nature to be a bit too demanding. But plain and simple, we just don't get a lot of games like this today. Games that trust the intelligence and curiosity of the player and allow them the simple joy of learning and finding rewards for themselves. Now, I know you may not be a hero chosen by destiny or a kid exploring caves outside his house. You may not be conquering dungeons or discovering hidden grottos, but I'm willing to bet there's some form of hardship or confusion that you're walking through right now. Heck, I know I am. But if I can ask, how are you growing right now? And how are those challenging circumstances pushing you to grow? Because while I never want to diminish the reality of the challenges you're facing, I can tell you that it has only ever been through challenges that I've grown in my life. There might be 1,000 things that make today difficult, but just around the corner, there's a beautiful world just waiting to be discovered. Thanks so much for watching. I want to dedicate this episode to my good friend Jack, who's been my brother and companion in exploring Hyrule for over a decade now. Love you, man, and I'm so grateful for the way you've challenged me and believed in this channel. Looking forward to many more adventures to come. And for the rest of you friends, I want you to know that you're loved, you're valuable, and you are creative. God bless y'all. Have a great day.